Yeah, I think it works.
What is up?
Yeah, I'm using new codec today, H246. So let me know, buddy boys, if the quality is crispy. Yeah, we had Mercer in the house. It's open mic, anybody can join.
Oh, look at that. It's 1.0. I don't know if you're gonna regret that though. Open mic.
Well, listen, I don't know if something bad can happen. I can always quit Discord, no? So
Yeah, I
easy.
suppose that's true.
Anyway, so you mentioned, I interrupted you a couple minutes ago. You said
Oh yeah,
you used
we
to
were
know a
just
guy who didn't recognize sarcasm, right?
yeah, well, we were talking about how I didn't understand certain idioms that you were talking about from Slovakia, and it reminded me of this friend of mine who was from Russia and came to Canada when he was like 10 or 11, and he could not understand a British humor at all. Like if I said anything sarcastic, he would take it literally, and I had to have to explain to him, no, I didn't actually mean that. I was being sarcastic. And I remember I tried to watch a Monty Python movie with him once, Life of Brian, and it just didn't click. He couldn't get the humor at all. It was the funniest thing, and it makes you realize that the differences are a little more than just accent and language. There's like even ways of thinking are a little bit different.
Yeah, but also sometimes you have people. This happened to me on some workplaces in the past. Like, you know, there is change of orders, right? You are wagey employer, yada yada. You have some kind of, not boss. There are people between you and boss, correct? And those people,
Like supervisors.
yeah. And sometimes there are a set of instructions you need to follow when it comes to some logistics, yeah, like carrying some items over there, but there are some certain rules, and basically some people like you and me sometimes can get confused and double check, double ask the supervisor on some instructions, yeah. And imagine those supervisors
Yeah.
start to get sarcastic on you in that moment, yeah, on the workplaces. Like you ask him about some serious technical question and he answer you with some total poem bullshit, which is not even funny, yeah. Some demeaning, like manipulative shit, yeah. And then it causes
I
like
guess
confusion, and then like the wage starts to apologizing. It's like fucked up, yeah. Go ahead.
I guess the motivation there would be like if it's something that they think you should know, that would be the only reason I would think that they would be sarcastic. Because otherwise, why would you?
Well, that's the thing. Sometimes they may know that you are clueless, and that even despite that they start to get sarcastic. It's like some kind of power play, like bullies are doing that on the workplace sometimes. And have you
Yeah.
worked in some warehouse somewhere, or like
I
something
have
like
in the past. Yeah, I have in the past. And usually management, I mean, the way I look at it, middle management is actually worse than being a wagey because you don't even really get paid that much more. You only get paid a couple dollars more. And you don't really have control over your the people underneath you. Like you just have to, you are given orders by the actual management, like the real owners of the business or the people that are control the entire building. And you just have to implement their policies, and you are not allowed to be flexible on those policies typically. Which means like you get all the shit if you have to enforce some stupid policy from your supervisor. You end up getting all the shit back from your wagey employees when you're the one enforcing it because you're the first rung above them. But at the same time, if you don't enforce it or you get resistance, you're the first one that takes shit from the upper management. So it really is like it's like being Jesus if you're middle management because like everyone, the entire world hates you basically.
Yeah.
See, I don't know how people can spend their entire lives in middle management. That would just make me want to rope.
What happens first?
And that's probably also why middle management, they tend to be like completely miserable assholes most of the time. Because the kind of people that are decent never stay long in middle management. Like I only had one middle manager that was good, and he ended up buying a sports bar and turning it into like this millennial Gen X bar uh, instead of being middle manager at Walmart. And he was a really cool guy, actually.
Yeah, I was lucky also. Many times I had good bosses, but sometimes there are some kind of people under pressure and they are out of control or some kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a live chat?
I don't know, is there?
I don't see it.
I don't know if it works correctly. I'm using new codec. I'm coping on text something here. It's a ghost channel right now, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it. But it might just be on my end. I don't know.
It's nighttime, where are you? It's still daytime for me, she said. I'm just kidding, it's Ninwa in the house.
I don't know. It's like 4 p.m. where I am.
10 p.m. here.
Yeah, that's about right.
Is
You
your
know, this, by the way, this reminded me.
hmm,
You know, one thing that you should do is, and this would be good content, is try and figure out what, because now we know that like geomaxing is very out of date in terms of like the good spots to be in. Like people are still going off data from the 2010s. Be a good idea to actually crunch the numbers on like cost of living, um, popularity, etc., of different places that you could potentially geomax to, and just make like a tier list of like the best options as of right now. Like for example, I was just struck by because I was comparing the women in Thailand to the women in Laos, and Laotian women are actually a lot better looking than Thai women, remarkably so. And the cost of living is either the same or slightly less. So it's one of those things where it's like maybe even if the infrastructure is not as good, maybe it's a little better of an option in
actually,
Thailand.
in the meantime, when you mentioned this on the Discord, my Facebook is keep recommending me all these strange news that are somehow connected to all these cookies and info we talk about. And I see like Lao and China are now like kinda cooperating big on these projects, that rail networks projects, huge, fast train, very fast,
Yeah,
basically sky train like through the rice fields and jungles and
yeah, it's kind of a weird story because Laos was supposed to be like originally it was part of Thailand. They're ethnically they're like Thais. They're like a sub
it's
ethnicity.
something like Poland and Slovakia, but only
Well, I was
linguistically
gonna say
pro.
like
Yeah,
like the Czechs and Slovaks is
no,
pretty much like
it's
where they're
Czechs and
very
Slovaks
close.
are way too tight, but Poland and Czechoslovakia are much like less brothers, more
Well,
like
how
cousins.
much
Yeah,
Polish how much
yeah.
Polish can you understand? Like how
Me
mutually
personally,
intelligible?
a lot because I'm from North originally, so I'm
Mm.
from that lore. But other Slovakians are absolutely ignorant towards Poland. So yeah,
Yeah, because the Lao language is actually a Thai dialect. It's not even its own language. So they're pretty much you can understand Laotians and Thais can understand each other.
yeah.
They speak the same language. So that's why I said it's more like Czechs and Slovaks because Czechs and Slovaks can understand each other just speaking your own languages. But
That's
my
true. Yeah,
understanding is that Laos was peeled off of Thailand by the French during the colonial times, and then it there was a communist takeover there that was backed by Vietnam. Um, and because of that, Laos and Thailand are like enemies, and they've been enemies for a while now. But there's some rapprochement, but they're still not like friendly. But that's why Laos has is underdeveloped. It's kind of like Vietnam in that sense, because obviously the communists it's going to be less developed. But the capital is right on the border of Thailand, Vientiane or something like that.
yeah.
It's right on the border, which means that you can just walk across to Thailand if you have the right visa.
Um, yeah. I think there is the Friendship Bridge or something like that. I'm not familiar on that patience, to be honest. And you
Yeah,
mentioned
that'd be an
prices.
example.
You mentioned prices. You see, I'm only familiar with one specific location, and prices over there. Yeah, I would be like,
Yeah,
I simply don't know what. Yeah, in tourist areas like Phuket, Krabi, Pattaya, not Pattaya, south, all these islands in the south. I'm staying away from tourists and strong international tourist presence. Every
yeah.
major nations in the world smashed together, but that is not. I can't handle that, bro. Yeah,
Well, it's kind of like when I look at I've looked into Laos versus Thailand, and it kind of reminds me of how Quebec works in Canada, because in Quebec, the cost of living on the French side is cheaper than the cost of living on the English side. Like if we look at Quebec versus Ontario. So what a lot of people would do is they would have their home located in Quebec. So they would rent on the Quebec side. But then for work, they would go across the border to the Ontario side and they'd earn their paychecks in Ontario. So they'd get the cheaper residence and cheaper cost of living while also earning more money. And that seems to be the relationship that Laos has with Thailand because it's their capital is right on the border. And it seems like a lot of Laotians commute right across the border and work in Thailand and then go back home to Laos where the Thai baht goes a lot farther.
of course.
Um,
Yeah.
because like the yearly per capita income in Laos is a lot lower than Thailand. It's like $800 if you factor in inflation.
Also, yeah, all the Thailand neighbors are doing it like that. Yeah, it's like everybody go to Germany the same way everybody go to
Yeah,
Thailand.
it's exactly like that. It's exactly
Exactly
how it
like that.
works. But that means you could sort of take advantage of that. If, for example, one of the unusual things about Laos is that the uh, the rents in Vientiane are actually higher than they are in Bangkok and in other parts of Thailand. So it's actually cheaper to rent on the Thai side. But then everything else, like food and stuff, is way cheaper. It's like half the price on the Laos side. So if you're really looking for a way to geomax economically and like uh, save money, one possible way to do it is if you can figure out how that works with the visas, is to like buy your groceries in Laos and like live right on the Laos Thai border.
I'm not sure if
Unless
you
you
can
can find
cross
a place.
easily multiple times like
Yeah,
that.
it may not be easy. That's the only downside. Unless maybe you had some sort of visa arrangement set up. But if it's possible, that would be one way to save a lot of money.
There are better ways, probably. Depends on everybody lifestyle, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
And
oh my
also, as
god,
I said,
like, have you seen that article I posted today? In general, some breed overstayed 25 years, which is, by the way, not possible anymore. Everything is digitalized. But in the year 2000, they still have everything like semi-digital, and he stayed unnoticed 25 years somewhere in Isan. Only
now,
recently he was catched. This is insane.
did he have a lot of money though?
So that's the thing. I haven't found information on in these articles.
I bet he was
So
a pensioner. I bet he was some
I
boomer
think we
pensioner
can
that
look
had
it
a
up.
ton of money.
I think we can look up this story somehow, somewhere, because it's too shocking not to be known about.
Because that's typically how the world works. Okay,
Or
like if you
probably
have a lot of
some
money,
journalists probably gonna go interview him. What do you think?
who knows? But like if you have a lot of money and you're spending money into their economy and you can afford bribes, you're gonna you're gonna be able to get away with shit like that, like,
Who
especially in third
knows?
world
Who knows?
countries.
This is speculative, but I would
Yeah,
love to talk to this guy who's overstayed 25 years, bro.
that would be an interesting. That would be an
That
interesting
I
conversation.
would
Like how
maybe.
exactly did that happen?
Well, come on, he did it calculative. Come on.
Yeah, but it just makes you wonder, like how exactly did he? That would actually be an interesting interview topic. Though he probably wouldn't do it for free. You probably have to give
I
him
know
something.
he can now charge 5,000 pounds or dollars to get
Yeah.
interviewed
I
now.
don't know if it'd be that much, but I think he'd at least want something for his
Look,
time.
it's a shock story. It's what's the name for this type of news? Something
Yeah, but
is
it's not
yeah.
enough. It's not something that would like get you world famous.
Of course not, but it's
But it would be of interest to
yeah.
people that are um, here or there who are interested in going to Thailand, and then just ask, how the hell did that happen?
Of course, that's for sure. Even I don't know how. It's insane. It's
Yeah,
insane stories like that.
yeah.
But okay,
And
here's the
actually,
deal.
I was
There is
just
this huge portal called Tiger.com. They're gonna probably make article about him. Hey, what are you saying?
oh, I was just gonna say, like, thinking about it, maybe maybe bribery just goes a long way.
No, not
Because I was
not
thinking, like,
anymore.
if you wanted to do the back and forth across the border, not necessarily in Thailand,
Yeah,
but I probably in Laos, like you could probably bribe the
yeah.
border
I'm
guys.
not sure because everything went too far with digitalization and forensics techniques, and there are web
Yeah,
cameras everywhere. Everything is highly reconnaissance. Everything. I'm telling you. Um,
yeah, maybe.
no, I'm telling you, you have to go to Asia and you have 5 cameras in one corner and shit like that. Uh, for real, you know.
Yeah, I do
But
imagine
yeah,
that would be a big deal, especially in Thailand because they're the most
and
developed country in the
there's no
region.
crime. Nobody steal anything.
No, but the main issue that they have would be illegal migrants coming over for work, and that would cause issues for the local
Oh,
Thais.
the Burmese are doing it actually very often. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but that harms the local Thais. Like if they want to get those jobs, like factory
You
work or
see,
whatever,
it's
makes
very
it harder for
disturbing
them.
because this can actually, like, I don't know, but it looks like some people can snitch on them and then they get deported. It's very sad. Yeah, I don't know what to think about it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of understandable. I mean, that's how like the Thais don't want to don't want to lose their country, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, Yeah, that's Laos and Cambodia are the two big ones that they have issues with. Burma, I think, is less so because the war has kind of
What?
made migration a lot harder. Or maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I would just imagine that the civil war down there is they probably sealed the border because of that.
Yeah, it's very sealed. It's like exotic North Korea, basically.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Whereas with Laos and Cambodia, they would have much more open travel probably.
Yes, Laos is quiet and nice and peaceful, but Cambodia I don't recommend. Yeah, people were approaching me, touching me, yada yada. A bunch of comments, yada yada.
It's like, whoa, the mysterious
Not,
white man has appeared.
no, they expect you to. They literally thinks you are walking ATM. Meanwhile, in Thailand, either everybody is ATM or nobody is ATM. Can you grasp this concept?
Well, yeah, I mean Thailand is connected enough now with the rest of the world that you don't have that shit as much.
Oh, I
But
give you a better example. In the West, everybody wants to shoot me in the head, but in Thailand, nobody even know the concept of shooting or, you know.
yeah. Yeah, I mean there's ups and downs about it, right? I was looking at Cambodia as a potential option, but yeah, that would really uh test my patience. I would
For
get really
you,
annoyed at that.
if you go there, only two places probably.
There's like
Siam
Phnom
Reap,
Penh
Siam
and
Reap, like, I mean, you have to stick with other tourists, man. That's the thing.
yeah.
Or somewhere in central Phnom Penh where there is already like a digitalization on high levels, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking like the cost of living versus what you'd have to deal with. That's really what the trade-off is, right? Like it's the cost of living versus the infrastructure and quality of life, And what I include in quality of life here is also access to women, like what kind of women you're going to have access to, um, their desirability. And Cambodian women are not well known for being very desirable, put it politely. Tend to be kind of not the most attractive. They seem to have a lot of Indian ancestry.
I
Um,
don't have any explanation for how they end up looking. I don't have an explanation.
yeah.
So
Well, yeah, I think one of the issues is also the amount of Chinese ancestry they have. Like Thailand has a lot of Chinese ancestry,
oh,
and I
that
think
is
that's made
correct.
their women a little better.
Oh, that's a very good observation, by the way. I never think about this
Yeah,
shit. You are right.
yeah. I think I read somewhere like 11% or 12% of Thailand's population is Chinese. And even outside of that, there's tons of people that are part Chinese. Um, so they've probably improved the appearance. Not that Chinese women are necessarily
But
gorgeous, but
the
they tend to be better
paleness,
looking
yeah,
than
yeah.
yeah, they tend to be a little better looking than like the average in Southeast Asia. And you also see that in places like Malaysia. Like Malays tend to look better than Indonesians. They have a little more Chinese ancestry.
I think I'm gonna abandon manual drive shaft. Too complicated to use both hands on so many shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what are you saying? Shit.
Oh, you playing something? I didn't even have the screen up. But yeah, I think that's an updated geomaxing discussion is something we're going to need to do because there are a lot of places that have been ruined by passport bros.
No, no, it's not about passport bros.
No, but
Young,
because that
young. It's
phenomenon
not
has
that
blown
many
up.
young people to go there. It's actually.
Yeah, but it doesn't take that many to ruin a
I was
place.
actually shocked. I keep seeing old man. Why the old man, bro? Old tourists. In Thailand, yeah, that's the demography that goes there.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking like, for example, the Dominican Republic has been ruined by Black Americans who have passport bro max there.
That actually might make sense. I'm not familiar with Americans geomaxing to South America. They
Yeah, like
usually
a
go
lot of
to
South American.
Colombia, or where? What's the top 5
Yeah, like
destinations?
Colombia, Medellin, I think is how they say it. I don't know exactly how they pronounce it, but it's spelled Medellin, Colombia. That country has been ruined by Americans, both black and white. And also, as I said, Dominican Republic has been fucked up by blacks specifically
Maybe Puerto
because,
Rico.
yeah,
No, Puerto Rico is still
Puerto
American.
Rico. I don't think
Hey, I
Puerto
see Sam
Rico. I don't.
Shekels.
Oh yeah.
Postra 5 coffee. Good luck. Something something. I don't see.
But yeah, they kind of fucked it up because the standards for women get driven up by the simps that go there and they spend tons of money on the women. This is something that I know Dominican Republic because I talk to a lot of Dominicans. I don't know why, but somehow I have Dominicans in my circle, and they fuck things up by spending tons of money on these women that are like basically prostitutes, and that becomes the new standard for them. Like their standards shoot way up. Colombia is the same, but that's also whites are there too. Whites are a real problem in Colombia, and whites and
Maybe,
Asians actually are
what else?
horrible simps.
Maybe Brazil somewhere. Probably no.
I don't think Brazil, like the further south you go,
Yeah.
the less bad the geomaxing is
Oh, because
in
of
terms of
proximity, maybe.
passport. Yeah, yeah. Like Dominican Republic is right beside Florida, like it's just south of Florida. So it's a really popular location. Um, I mean, well, Dominicans are like mixed race. They're like half black, half Spanish. So you have to be into that, which a lot of black guys are because they're like light skinned black girls in a lot of cases. So that's why they go to the DR. Colombia is obviously not that, but Colombia is also close in proximity to the US, relatively speaking. And it's the same with like Panama, Costa Rica. There's a lot of money maxers go into those places because they're tax havens.
Panama.
And
Do you know Prison Break? That TV show.
Prison Break,
Prison
yeah,
Break. Is there was you remember T-Bag? That criminal with the Norwood,
I
the
don't really
strong
like.
Norwood
I know
5.
of the show, but I don't remember. I don't remember much from it
That
because I
that
didn't
that
actually
guy,
watch it.
they
I just
chopped
know
off
of
his
it.
hand. Remember? They chopped off the hand to this.
I don't remember it. I never actually watched it. I just know of it.
Oh man, there was a lot of scenes in Panama City. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was insane. Jesus Christ. Hey, Nocturnal Joe.
yeah. Hey guys, what's up? Isn't Thailand already pretty cheap? It actually it is sort of, but it's not as cheap as you'd think it is.
Oh, the main key is to
If
stay
you
away from tourist places, and you can score meal for 2-3 euro
yeah.
instead of 7, 8, 9. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually look at the costs there, I mean, it's still like half as cheap, or it's like half the expense of living in a first world country. But you also have to realize that unless you have a remote job that will let you work outside of the country, you still have to figure out how to bring money in, right? It's either that or you only go there for like 3 months of the year. And then there's all sorts of issues with like if you're renting a place, um, and like where are you going to rent? Are you going to have a job lined up and then you leave for 3 months and then come back? Like there's a lot of logistical things that can fuck things up. Which is why I'm thinking like if you are going to geomax in the long term, you want to find somewhere that is uh, even cheaper than Thailand on average right now, because things are only going to keep going up in price. Like Thailand's only going to keep getting more and more developed. So at that point,
Yes,
then it's time to start looking at their neighbors potentially. Which is why I
that's
was peeking at Laos and
yeah.
seeing how things look there.
Look. Okay, do you know that movie Air America with?
Air America?
Yes, By the way, it have brilliant actors. What's his name? Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr. It's about that secret CIA war in Vietnam. Did you know? They were operating from
Secret
Laos.
CIA war?
Anyway, like Mel Gibson had a Lao wife in that movie, and
Oh, yeah?
they really depicted those scenes really, really peacefully and based. You should
Yeah,
check it
Mel
out,
Gibson
Mercer.
strikes me as the type.
Yeah, Mercer. After we wrap it up here, you should check out that scene from Air America. Mel Gibson, Lao wife. Type this in YouTube, most likely.
Yeah, I might take a look.
And man, I'm telling you, if you have no imagination about how Lao look like, because I don't, those scenes are like most closest to it. Like,
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to really say because Vientiane looks a lot like Thailand in terms of its infrastructure, but because it's the capital. But everything else is kind of like shacks, you know?
well, it's
Like
about the elevation.
it's not a
Yeah,
developed
it's
country.
about elevation and like it's hills, bunch of hills, and
Yeah, that's another thing is that because it's a higher elevation, the climate's actually not as bad. Like it's cooler in terms of the
oh,
weather.
I was talking about mentality maybe.
Oh, I don't know about
No
that.
digitalization. Till 70s.
Yeah, I don't mind that really. I mean, as long as I can get money out of an ATM, I don't mind having less infrastructure.
Yeah, you can for $7 fee, by the way.
For $7.
Yeah.
But what can you get for $7?
That's the fee for withdrawing money from ATM.
Oh, that is kind of shitty, isn't it?
That's shit. You better go to bank, but you have to wait line.
Yeah, so there are like inconveniences there that you have to factor in. You know, and I imagine that the internet connectivity is not as good.
It is good actually.
Probably.
It's
But it's good in
satellites.
Laos?
It's now good everywhere because everything is done by satellites and they are triangulating.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
You just need a SIM card, that's it. And you are guaranteed to have 10 megabyte up, 4 megabyte down. I mean the other way around, sorry. 10 mega download, 4 mega upload or something like that. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's not bad actually. That's tolerable.
It is good enough, but it's not good for some heavy computing shit. Yeah, like.
Yeah, I imagine live streaming higher resolution would be trickier, but then again, I imagine if you paid enough money for a good connection.
Not only that, but some people are working with huge files and constantly cloud using.
Yeah.
Like.
See, that's a Zoomer problem. I have removable storage. Just learn to use an SD card, guys. It'll save your life one day.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, because then you don't have to deal with cloud storage. You can just store everything on like USBs or HDDs, external hard drives.
Yeah, but here's the deal. That shit on clouds can be shared with other people. Like, in live. That's how people are working on a bunch of updates and fixes, you know. They are sharing shit on clouds and testing it.
That's true, yeah. If you're remote working, that could be an issue. That's true.
That's what I mean by the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also thinking, like, if you're producing content. Well, I just wonder.
Content, basically, right now, I'm running OBS and I'm sending 10 mega per second, which is overkill, by the way, already.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I know that, for example, in a lot of Latin American countries, electricity is actually kind of iffy. Like in the Dominican Republic, electricity, it's not always up. Like there's frequent power outages and brownouts. And that's an issue down there. It makes it difficult to do anything online. You'd have to get like a dedicated power setup, and that can run the bills up. Like I was watching this one guy who was in the Dominican Republic, like I guess you could say he's a geomaxer. He's like an older white guy, but he was like, "Oh, I have to spend $10,000 a month in Dominican Republic to send my kids to international school and whatever." And I'm like, "Bro, if you're spending like the equivalent of $120,000 US a year on the Dominican Republic, why the fuck would you be there? Like, what's the point? Like at that point, you might as well go to another first world country like Japan or something." Now, in his case, it was because his wife's Dominican, but I'm still thinking like, if the cost of living difference is so little that you need to have 120K to live comfortably there, or like to the standards that you want, you might as well live in the States and do that. You know, like live somewhere like Miami. You know, but say there's a lot of things that add up that you don't realize. Yeah, good luck with job hunting. Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, you still there?
Yes, I'm checking the comment section. What? Yeah.
Yeah, something about job hunting. Yeah, ain't gonna make any money in Europe. But at least the cost of living isn't too bad. Oh yeah, you know something else that's weird?
What?
I didn't realize this, but apparently the Philippines is actually more expensive to live in than Thailand.
Possibly because
Not by much. Like they're pretty close, but it's actually slightly more expensive to live there. Which surprises me because their infrastructure is so much shittier.
I never been over there, but I only hear some sketchy shit. Right.
Yeah, it's way overpopulated. There's just way too many people there.
Buy more fucking gas. This is not enough.
Yeah, which is why you see so many Filipinos going elsewhere. Which, I mean, they're not bad people. I don't really of all the immigrant groups I can think of, I can't think of the Philippines as being a problematic group of people, but still, it's like 150 million people on those islands. There's no way that's sustainable. But apparently the standards women have there are like non-existent, much. which also, by the way, plays into the theory I had about demographics, where the average age, if it's lower, because there's less competition for women, their expectations will be lower.
But yeah, that goes hand in hand. I'm not sure, but it's also
The Philippines population is a lot younger because the Catholic Church actually actively prevented them from uh, legalizing birth control until very recently. It's also something I've noticed with Laos is there's a lot more young women there.
I think they make kids sooner. They are pressured into it, maybe from elders or something, or maybe they think
Yeah,
it's important
the
because
average
maybe
age in the Philippines is
kids
like
will start
25.
working. Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Whereas in Thailand, it's almost 40.
Yeah, actually, Thailand have older demographics.
Yeah,
It goes
yeah.
hand
This is
in
one of the
hand
first
with
things you notice.
it goes hand in hand with all that stuff when girls are working in factories, or I don't know, they decide not to have children until
Yeah.
30. I don't know what's behind these mechanics exactly, but
Well, there's actually a trick you can use to figure out um, how the economy of a given country is going to do in terms of growth, because the average age is important because younger people have less money. They are usually more dependent, especially children. So if a larger fraction of your population is part of that younger demographic, those are people that are not going to be economically active. So that actually makes your country poorer because you have fewer older adults that are working and that have accumulated resources. Whereas if your population's older, you have more old people that have more resources that they've accumulated over their lives. They'll spend more into the economy in theory. And this drives modernization, like development. So this is probably related to why Thailand has developed faster than their neighbors, because they implemented those birth control policies very early on. And as a result, they were able to benefit from people not having as many kids to take care of, which means that they can invest more time and resources into their uh, fewer children. And then also they have just less overall costs to bear. Like they can spend more into the economy because they're not taking care of like 4 or 5 kids. They only have 1 or 2 kids. And yeah, actually looking at it, like Laos and Cambodia are a lot younger than Thailand.
yeah, yeah. But
So they have had birth control in their countries.
I'm not sure. I wish I knew.
Really, I'm gonna look that up.
Oh shit.
Okay, so they almost have 8 million people. Okay, so they're a lot smaller than Thailand's population. Cambodia has 17 million. 17 million.
Yeah, they are all dispersed. Yeah, but there is no cities. There is only three cities in Cambodia, and everything else is one house every 50 meters. There is one house in the middle of field, and this goes forever, bro.
That sounds pretty comfy, actually.
No, it is. It's a nightmare. It's dystopia, bro. It's like living in Stone Age.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And the Stone Age was kind of based.
I'm telling you, Cambodia from airplane, it looked like Mongolia, like those empty steppes. When I was looking at
Oh,
it,
yeah?
yeah, it was insane. Thailand looked so modern, so green, and the lights everywhere. The light pollution was insane. And you see roads everywhere
Right.
and white structures, not shacks, basically, yeah, made out of this white concrete.
Oh,
Night and
interesting.
day, yeah. So,
Actually, yeah, looking at the population here, the population pyramid for Laos is really nice. It's actually a normal pyramid shape. So it's probably, if you're a man there, it's probably pretty easy to get by, at least with regards to women.
sure. If they are traditional, like in Vietnam, they're not gonna want to date you.
Well, that's the thing is, if you speak Thai, you can speak Laos or Laotian, whatever, because it's like the same language,
It's
pretty
not the
much.
same. It's not the same, but it's
No,
similar.
they're very close. They're very close. And I mean, you know, maybe they are traditional, but doesn't mean you can't find them on dating apps, whatever, and you can talk to them.
So
But you
here's a
probably won't be able
question:
to just.
are you going to date a woman who is like sticking with her family a lot, or a girl who is like solo city life, career, family? That's a difference. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking long term, probably you'll do better with a girl that is tied up with her family and she's like family
Yeah,
oriented.
then you have to count with numerous family emergencies all the time if you are with her. Can you imagine that?
I mean, that is true. That is true. It's sort of the issue with extended families, right?
And if she's like the first option, solo career in the city, there are almost no emergencies because she's out of proximity to the family, you see?
Mm.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, that would be the biggest downside with these women from sea, and well, pretty much any Asian
There are
country
few
is that they have.
downsides.
Yeah, but the biggest downside is that they're very connected to their extended family, and like if you get involved with one, they're going to be involved in your life, like way more than a European family. That would actually get really annoying for me. Having to deal with like an extended family constantly, 24/7. And I don't know if they're like the Chinese with their hierarchy, but I imagine they're probably similar, where like the elders have like this enormous amount of respect, and you have to defer to them constantly.
Yeah,
That would be kind of annoying.
here's the deal. The elders dislike you, you are finished, bro. Nobody can
That's
guarantee
it.
you
Yeah,
likability. That's so powerful. Yeah.
exactly. So you'd have to impress them, and that would be.
Yeah. And you know,
These are a lot
here
of
in,
hidden
yeah,
side things with these.
and here in the West, if the elders don't like you, the young people will still have the power to decide. Yeah.
Yeah, no one cares.
Or yeah, you just said it.
Yeah, like parents
Brutal,
parents have
brutal.
almost no influence. I'd say it's the other way around, actually. We have too little influence over, well, not we as in parents, but like we as in Westerners have like no influence over what our children do after they're adults. Like as soon as a girl's 18, you have no control over her whatsoever. And like even trying to uh, uh, influence her decisions is seen as controlling and invasive. Like it's the exact opposite extreme. Yeah, I guess that's one thing in Thailand's favor is that, and this is the effect of having low birth rates for a long time, is that you eventually you lose your extended family. Your extended family disappears because they're just not born, right? Like on my mother's side, I have two. My grandmother had three children, and so I have an uncle and an aunt. My aunt had two children, and my uncle did not have children. Him and his wife just didn't have children. So I have a grand total of like two cousins on my mother's side, like two direct cousins. Whereas on my father's side, he was one of eight children, and so all of his siblings had like two or three kids. So I have like 16 to 20 cousins on my father's side. Like it makes a huge difference. And if you don't have all these extended family members, you're going to be a lot less interconnected with your family. And that's going to make you more individualistic just because there's just fewer of these people that have influence in your life. So probably in Thailand, it's similar because they've had low birth rates for a long time as well, almost as long as Japan, in fact. And in Japan, there's so few extended family members now that you have to actually rent family members for weddings and stuff.
Oh man, it's so sad in Japan.
Yeah, it's really fucked up. But
And
thinking about it,
Europe
that is
is,
kind of how it
yeah,
works.
I'm telling you, the West is already, this is not like I want to say beginning of this, we are already in it, and it's going to get worse. You know, all the signs are there.
Well, it's interesting because Christmas at my mother's place was way smaller than at my father's place. Like when I'd go to my mother's family's Christmases, there would be like maybe eight people max. And on my father's side, when they would have get-togethers, it'd be like 20 or 30 people, you know? Like it really does add up over time. And so yeah, because countries like Laos and Cambodia, they have much younger populations, there's going to be a lot more extended family members that are going to, be in and out of your life. And if you're not used to that, that's probably going to be jarring. And if you're a Westerner, they're probably going to see you as like a money bank. Like you're gonna have all these issues that they need you to spend money on them for. Like I
Of
can imagine
course,
that would be really
it's called
frustrating.
family emergencies, and
Yeah.
it's too often, and for many foreigners, uh, it's a red flag. But some foreigners think this is normal, and yeah, it's, everybody has to know
Yeah. Yeah. And
what is their life expenses, and what kind of treatment they want, and what kind of people they want to be surrounded.
yeah,
All right. Mm.
this is a big problem for uh, guys that marry Filipinas. Like I've heard this, it's notorious with Filipinas. They will treat their extended family will treat you as money bags, and that's actually an easy way to get grifted by them. Which is one of the reasons why I'm very sus about them. I don't want to have to deal with that shit. But yeah, I'm thinking depending on how the cost of living going up in Southeast Asia compares to some of the older school geomaxing places like Japan, especially with the yen falling off a cliff recently. Japan is actually starting to look like a decent geomaxing location again, potentially. At least if you have a little more money.
Food is overpriced.
Well, that's the thing, is that it was overpriced. But if you look at cost of food and just cost of living in general in Japan right now, it's gone down a lot compared to just a few years ago. It's like prices have dropped like 10, 15% in just the last couple of years because the yen took a pounding. But for most of their food and stuff, they make it domestically. And because the population is going down, rent is actually very cheap in outside of the cities in Japan. If you're in the countryside, rent is super cheap.
Why is his name the German? Who says like that?
Who?
It says the German. Hey, there is a question
Oh,
from Time for Kiss. Well, yeah, the chance is there, basically. If you put split effort into it, and I don't know what else to say. They are very appealing and they smell good. So I don't know what's not to like.
oh man, Pozdra bought you 5 coffees. You're gonna overdose on
Fucking
coffees.
celebrate, yeah. Buy chicken and potato.
Holy shit. The Cambodian population pyramid's all fucking crazy if you look at it.
Oh,
And I think it's because
in Pol Pot it happened.
yeah, you can see it. You
Terrible,
can see
man.
there's like a big gap missing from 40 to 45. There's just this huge gap in between.
It's insane how they let it happen, man. Like, and nobody stopped
Yeah.
it. So easy to have this repeat, by the way. So easy to have this let repeat.
Yeah, I think at least with the communists, they're not going to have that issue anymore. Yeah, it's interesting. In Cambodia, you actually start seeing a surplus of females as recently as age 18. You start to see excess women. Very interesting. I guess that's because a lot of the men leave. They leave Cambodia to find work elsewhere. I think a lot of Eastern European countries are like that now,
Well,
right?
those
Because of people going to
places,
Germany.
those places will reach a point of improvement where the world will stop making fun of them, and there will be time where they will start making fun of us. So we are going backwards.
Maybe. Maybe, yeah. Actually, I'll look that up. Cost of living comparison. Pen. All right, let's see. Interesting. Honestly, the cost of living in Phnom Penh is almost the same as it is in Bangkok. Yeah, not much of a difference, except for a few things.
Need to down here. I have to allow manual transition again.
Oh yeah, that's another issue you have to keep in mind is international schools. Like if you were to settle down somewhere long term, you have to factor in the cost of international schooling. It's like 13,000 a year. I don't know, that's adds up.
You have a question in the quick chat, Mercer.
The population in the West in severe decline. We should start seeing YouTube channels helping Stacy's cope with poopies and ray rays, the lack of poopies and ray rays. Well, you know, sort of, but you have to remember is that as the population ages, that means there's fewer and fewer young women, and there's more and more older men, which means that the women get more and more competition for, or like the men have to compete more for the women. So it actually benefits them to have an older population. Like, in fact, I would say it's the other way around. We could expect to see Stacy's stock value just skyrocket. I mean, well, it is notable that, like, look at OnlyFans. Like, I was reading this one story where this chick was she made like $50 million on OnlyFans in like 3 years or something absurd like that. Like, could you have imagined this in the 80s? Like, nobody could have imagined.
Nobody could have this imagined.
Yeah. And it's like when I look at Americans talk about like super hot women, and I see them post pictures, I'm like, when I was in a small town, these girls were just working at the cashier place. Like, they were just a dime a dozen. But now, because there's fewer and fewer of them, their value just keeps going up.
Yeah, I remember all these ultra giga boomer coping proverbs and metaphors they used to say to us youngsters back in the days. Something like, so imagine like some normie got dumped and he goes into depression and he starts to complain in front of some old people, and the old people gonna be like, oh, like, what, so they say something like, for one sunshine, the sun doesn't shine. I mean, for one flower, the sunshine doesn't shine, or some fucking metaphor bullshit like that, making you want to think that there is more flowers out there, but in reality, there kinda isn't more flowers out there that the sun's supposed to shine on, right?
Yeah.
Similar
But remember that
like the bury
the only frame of reference that boomers have is from when they were young, because that's the only time they experienced it, right? But the problem is when they were young, our countries were completely different in terms of the demographics, in terms of the economy. it's almost like different countries. And now normally, in previous generations, those countries would be poorer when those elders were younger, which means whatever advice they gave was usually good advice because it was advice from a time when things were harder.
Yeah.
But for us, it's the reverse. It's like our boomers are coming from a more prosperous time, and they're giving us advice that worked for them in their time. Like I imagine that it, like for the most part, it's sincere advice, but it just doesn't work for us. You know, like I was talking about how I had a previous landlord who he went to college and he didn't even finish college, but he applied at year three of his finance degree to an insurance company, and they hired him on the spot. Like even though he didn't even finish, he was just like, "Well, I've learned enough. I don't need to complete this." I'm like, "Bro, that would never happen now. Like you would have to have a confirmed 4 year minimum from a good university, like a highly reviewed university." And you'd probably need references and you need prior experience. Like they don't do
Credentials.
that anymore.
It's credentials.
Yeah, yeah. And a part of that is also demographic too. Like a lot of things tie back to demographics because when you have an older population, that also means that the average person, if your average age is like 40, that means that the average person has what the average 40-year-old's experience in terms of like employment. And that means that employers have a lot more to choose from prospective employees on average, just due to the age being older. Because like you're competing with these larger, older demographics that have years on you in whatever field. Whereas back in the boomers' time, the number of older people was a lot smaller. So employers had to make do with choosing younger people and then training them. They don't have to do that anymore. They either import them or there's like because of how the economy is all fucked up, there's a lot of boomers that have to switch careers or switch jobs, even though they're middle aged, and they will sweep up these entry level jobs in industries that would normally go to college, graduating college students. Like it's really fucking bad. And that's actually one thing I would be curious to see is because Thailand is also a demographically old country. I'd be curious to see what the issues are for younger Thais in terms of the economic situation. Because I bet you they're having similar problems to us, where they're getting squeezed out of both ends. Like the lower end jobs are being taken by immigrants from like Laos or Cambodia, and the upper end jobs are probably being competed for by boomers that have a lot more experience. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I have not noticed old people in charge of, like when I went to some bank or grocery stores. The collective is employers, mostly young team, yeah, mostly young. It's like
Yeah, I'm thinking more like white collar professionals, like the engineers, the software developers. There's probably like I know that Thailand does produce those,
I'm not
and the
sure.
ones
I'm
that they
not
do
sure they
produce,
literally don't have any desktop coping culture, because why would you cope behind rotting desktop when you can have fun outside with sunshine and animals? Yeah? Everything is mobile in
yeah,
Thailand.
maybe.
Like, and those dudes in Thailand who have desktop, the purpose of that desktop is to put a bunch of colorful LEDs on it, and to showcase it, maybe to guests at it, bro. They are using it to play music, not to play video games. I'm telling you. It's
that's
insane.
pretty great.
Only we are super
I do
ultra
know.
hardcore coping with desktop computing power because we are stuck in these frozen cages, bro, unable to move.
Yeah. I do notice that Thailand, if you look at their economy, they don't really do a lot of software stuff. Like if you look at what their exports are, they're mostly manufactured stuff.
There is some
Like
stuff
computer
going on,
parts.
but they are doing some collaborations with Koreans and Japanese, I think.
Yes. Yes, that does seem to be what's going on. Because I did notice they manufacture a lot of car parts, a lot of computer parts, that sort of thing. And probably a big chunk of their workforce is are migrants from other countries. I wouldn't be surprised. All right. Really, one thing we should do at some point is do a stream of dating apps in different countries just to get an idea of what the women look like on average. Because one of the things you notice that I think is really important is the average weight in these countries. Like, for example, in Canada, uh, we have the province of Quebec, and Quebec's unusual in that it's a much thinner province than the English provinces are. And there's also fewer immigrants there because they would have to learn French, which they usually don't. And as a result, dating is actually a lot easier there because if you have a fat population, thin girls get put into like a privileged category. Like there's actually people don't realize this, but in Latin America, there's a lot of fat women. Like and that does affect your dating options. If like 30% of the population is obese, that other 2/3 will then have a way bigger leverage. Yeah, it's horrifying. Like Canada and the U.S. are kind of similar in that regard. Canada is slightly less obese, but not by all that much. I mean, I think we're better than Europe, but or no, not Europe. Sorry, we're better than the UK and the US, but we're fatter than Europe on average.
Yeah, Pire, that is correct. Where what does ChatGPT said about Eastern Europe? He said, where dreams have frozen, hope has fled. That's what ChatGPT
Right.
said about Eastern Europe.
Well, there's in the 90s and 2000s, Eastern Europe was seen as like this mecca by white boomers and Gen Xers to find wives. I'm like, these people have no idea what they're getting into. Like Slavic women are some of the most brutal women in the world.
Oh, you have no idea. Unless you fell
I mean, they
for
usually got what they deserved. Like these guys would marry like a Russian woman and then be taken for everything they own. Just like, yeah, I'm not surprised. You could have asked the local men, why do you think their suicide rates are so high? I would actually even go so far as to say that in terms of personality and psychology, Anglo women are probably better than Slavic women just because they aren't as ruthless. Like they aren't as ruthless and materialistic, as crazy as that sounds. It is true. Like an American or Canadian or Anglo woman will have certain like they'll have entitlements that are way above what they should be, but they aren't like extremely materialistic the way that I've seen some of these Slavic women um, act. Like it's all about the money for them in a lot of cases. It might be because all the men that died in World War II that made competition for the remaining men way tighter. And so the kind of women that were able to win those competitions, those breeding competitions, were the most ruthless and cunning of them. Yeah. Actually, another geomaxing location I was thinking of was Turkey because the cost of living is super low there as well, and it's a lot like Europe on its eastern coast. Of course, the downside is it's still technically a Muslim country. And actually, funny about Turkey is they're taking in so many immigrants now from the Middle East that it's actually fucking up their demographics now, the same way that our demographics got fucked up in Europe. And I've known a lot of Turks that are becoming like full-blown Nazis over it.
I'm gonna take nation from Andrew Tate.
Technician from where?
From Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. I don't know. What about him?
Nothing, nothing. He went silent pretty much last
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't
couple
seen
of
much from him. He
exactly.
did that thing. He did that bruv thing, which I thought was really funny actually. I could get UK citizenship through my grandmother, and I'll vote for him. Doesn't Peru have a male to female ratio, the highest with more females than males? I don't know about that actually. Possible. I'm pretty sure the highest ratio was in Eastern Europe somewhere because of all the men dying from alcohol, but I could be wrong. Take a look. And the only problem with Peru is They see here. They're like 5'2" on average or something. They're like super short. And then also women aren't exactly the best looking, if we're gonna be charitable. They're not supermodels. Whoa, there's a huge difference in life expectancy though. Like the life expectancy for women is like 72 years, and the life expectancy for men is 65 years. I don't know what's killing them all.
Like there is this one city in Peru located like very very high in the mountains. Forget the name. And it's like crime is very high, and people get
Yeah, the indigenous groups.
poison from use because they are mining gold, and they are using cyanide to filter some kind of impurities or something.
Yeah.
It's very toxic. Oh man, I was watching a documentary about it, but I forget the name. But yeah, it was very harsh.
Yeah, looking at the ratio for.
And even tourists are unwelcomed. And
Yeah, no, they don't like tourists either.
Everybody was shunning them down. Like, put away the camera, blah blah blah. It was brutal.
Yeah, actually, you're right. There is a
What's the
rather
name?
large gap, Peru. Like the gap starts as early as 22, and then it especially like from the 30s to 40s, like there's a huge gap of women missing, or not women, men missing. I imagine that it has. I'm pretty sure that Peru is not known for extreme violence, is it? Like that would kill off a lot of men.
No, but have you heard about El Salvador? What they did? They built that super
Yeah, they
giga.
threw like a third of the men in prison because they were all
Yes,
gang members.
yes. Everybody
Yeah.
who got the tattoo with MS-13 or Baro 16 or 18 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
was thrown there, and they're finished, bro.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they don't just
It's
shoot these
insane.
people.
No, because they would get the United Nations would, tell them they would cause a scandal for breaking the human rights or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm sure if he could just shoot them in the head, he would.
Yeah.
But like, just as a policy for repeat criminals and like gang members and stuff, they should just shoot them in the head. Like, you don't need to.
Okay, but
You don't need to just jail these people.
Look, here's the
Just a
problem.
waste of
Here's the
resources.
problem. Somehow, everybody have a right for to defend yourself, because sometimes it can be proven that somebody is innocent, and if you shoot him in advance and it will get proven he is innocent, you have problems on your neck, right? You are the man who caused
Yeah,
the
well,
scandal.
what I would do is I would do like a 3-strike rule or something like that, where yeah, you get treated normally if you get
that makes sense, I think.
if you commit like 1 or 2 crimes, then if you commit the 3rd crime and it's verified, then we just shoot you in the head. That would solve a lot of these problems, because these people are just useless in a lot of cases. Like they just drain resources. There's zero benefit to keeping them around.
Sure.
Yeah, looking at Peru though. Yeah, again, the only issue is they're really short down there. So, well, I mean, if you're okay with that, and you're okay with like they're very indigenous ethnically, then yeah, it's an option. Like I remember I set a dating app once to Ecuador just to look around, and there were actually some decently attractive women, but those were like the mixed ones that are mixed more with white. And Peru is a lot more indigenous than Ecuador, I'm pretty sure. The U.S. president, we still have an excess mail problem. Yeah, yeah, that's what happens. Because you have constant influx of men pouring in from the southern border, and immigrants, economic immigrants, are disproportionately men. So the immigration just causes it. Even if you shut the border down, which the Trump administration has done, they don't have the infrastructure to deport the illegals that are already there, and I don't even think that the economy could tolerate it. So they're just going to stay there.
Have you seen that movie? Let's Go to Prison. It's a very
Let's
good
go to
movie. Yeah,
prison.
yeah, it's a very good movie.
I don't think so. Let's see. Just looking into Peru right now. Yeah, I mean, they're not very good-looking people. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, they have this reddish face, right? Looks like high blood pressure.
Yeah, it's not really.
Kinda gives you like gypsy vibe. Like,
It is kind of a gypsy vibe, to be quite honest. You could find like a mestiza there. That would be
it's
a
the
bit
Inca.
different.
It's the Incas, bro. You know, that's
Yeah.
not Mayans. You know, that's not Aztecs. The Inca, bro.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. That movie, Let's Go to Prison, it has some funny facts in it. And some stereotypes were depicted, you know.
Yeah, well, is it a US movie?
Yeah, sure, it's a comedy actually.
Yeah, that's why. That makes sense. I don't know, man. The situation there is such a burden. And I know the police are kind of. It's funny because they have all these criminal populations, and as a result, the police are more totalitarian than they would be if they didn't have those criminals. So they almost like feed off each other. I will say though, the environment in Peru is really nice looking. A lot of mountains.
Guatemala?
No, Peru. Like it's very mountainous and they have a lot of hills and valleys.
Peru actually is so big, they have all four types of environment. They have
Yeah.
desert, jungle, and mountains, and everything. They have everything.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about elevation is
Coastal.
you can go to these tropical countries and you can actually find through going to higher areas, you're like higher points. You can find places where the climate's not so hot.
Trust me, the hotness is not your problem. Your main concern is safety and crime.
Yeah, yeah. They have a lot of
Yeah.
issues with drugs, cocaine, especially.
And the hospitability of the people. That's
Yeah.
the life, man. Without it, you are trapped.
Yeah, Lima looks actually it looks pretty good. Yeah, the thing is, if I were gonna go to South America though, I would just go somewhere like Colombia or even Brazil, like Peru, because then you have to weigh up the other options, or like you have to weigh up the alternatives. Like even Argentina is probably better in terms of the type of women you can find there.
Yeah, for American geomax, it's Milan is not so nearby, basically. Probably Central America, no? Better.
Well, Central America, other than El Salvador, is quite a mess. And there are also very indigenous there. But they're not really bad looking. It's just that they're really short.
Mogmaxer said that Colombian foils are the hottest.
Yeah, well, the thing with them is there is
Oh,
truth to that, but they also have a
Argentina.
lot of plastic surgery.
Oh, no, actually Argentina, he said. That's funny. A couple of my favorite prom actresses are from
Yeah,
Argentina.
Argentina's also an option, yeah. Um, but as far as Colombia goes, they do have good-looking women. But there's two issues. Is the one is that there's tons of plastic surgery there, so there's a lot of fake women. And two, there's a lot of like prostitution, sex trade stuff there. You're gonna have a hard time finding a Colombian woman that isn't in some way involved in that if she's attractive, just because it's so big down there. And you also have to deal with the crime there, which I've heard of crazy stories like expats getting going out on a date with a woman and then getting drugged with some local plant that causes them to like be extremely suggestible, and then the woman would like guide the guy to an AGM and pull out all his money and have him give the money to her, and then just abandon him while the drugs wear off. Like that sort of shit happens a lot.
Yeah, yes, stories like that comes only from South America and Central America. But for example,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Thailand,
like
nobody would
crazy
try
shit like that.
to poison you like this.
Yeah, yeah, it's very lawless. In some ways, that's kind of liberating, um, because we're used to having our governments almost like omnipresent, where if there's any conflict between people, you can call the police and you can expect them there shortly. Like there's always this police protection bubble that people live in. And in these countries in Latin America, there's none of that. Like the guy that you're walking beside on the street could, in theory, like kill you and hide the body and probably get away with it. And it's also true in the reverse. Like you could do the same thing to him. And I think that creates a different kind of environment. Probably in some ways, people respect each other a little more because there's this sense that, there's no referee that can jump in and stop something if shit goes down. Yeah, yeah. I used to work with a Colombian, and they're interesting people.
Why?
Um, well, like they're all into drugs. They pretty much like they all love cocaine. So if you get tangled up with Colombians, they'll get you in trouble generally. I like them though. I like that guy. He's a pretty cool guy. But yeah, prostitutes and cocaine are just that's the bread and butter of Colombia. It's not just a stereotype. It's actually how they are. And also, a lot of the young girls there now, like the younger um, teens and 20s in Colombia, they're Venezuelans. They've been brought in, basically trafficked in for the sex trade. And those are the ones where they're all connected up with the gangs and crime. Is a huge problem in Colombia with all the Venezuelans that came over there and really drove the crime rate up. So yeah, in conclusion, unless you're the kind of guy who wants an exciting life, I guess you could say, um, Latin America may not be the place for you. Oh yeah. I was just looking into crime in Peru and it's a huge problem there. Yeah, not worth it.
I hate that beard so much. I need to contact the developer of this game and tell him to remove that beard from the game.
What? What?
Like this crow, you know, machine gun
Uh,
crow. What is this? What is going on here? I can buy this turbo, but how can I put turbo on the track? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, nobody knows. I need
This
to
is
look
all
up
new to
some
me.
guide. Yeah, you do.
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, actually, it's looking at the GDP map in Southeast Asia. It's actually crazy how Thailand is completely surrounded by shitty countries.
Yeah,
That must be interesting.
I also sent you some light pollution map and internet coverage map. And basically Thailand is surrounded by Stone Age, bro. I'm telling you. Thailand is 50 years ahead and surrounded by 50 years backwards. It's insane.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I don't know, it still might be worth it to check those places out.
Yeah, Laos is maybe
Well,
worth
I'm
it, but it's very slow type of life that you can expect. No
yeah.
party, no bullshit,
Yeah,
no troublemaking.
yeah. Well, the thing is, you have to leave the country usually for visa renewal, anyways, right? Like you need to spend time in other countries in order to go back into Thailand. So some of these places might be worth it. Like I'd probably check out Laos and just hang out in Vientiane for 3 or 4 months, if that's what I was doing.
Reasonable.
And you know what's crazy as well is that Laos and Cambodia are actually poorer per capita than India. I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, but India have a lot of cities which are like how to say this, concentrating some kind of high class, high income class. And Laos most likely have that income class only in Vientiane. You
Yeah.
see, and everything else is jungle, it's villages basically.
Yeah. Well, it's just the thing is with India is like everything's covered in garbage in India. Like it actually looks like a dump, whereas at least from the street walks in Vientiane, it looks pretty good. Like you don't see garbage everywhere. Actually, I'm going to double check that. Vientiane. And yeah, I'm pretty introverted person anyways, so I wouldn't really care much about going to bars or whatever, or nightlife. Wouldn't be my thing anyways. I'd be looking for somewhere cheap just to cope. Let's see. Yeah, actually, it looks a lot like Vietnam. Oh god, there's even travel vloggers that are fucking around in Laos. They haven't been spared.
Yeah, so it's almost midnight in here. I think we're gonna wrap it up in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Western Decline to make a new video. Western Decline, is that who is that again? Is he the Canadian?
Not sure. Probably American, no? Yeah, I'm gonna send 3 people to the streets in helicopter. Save it here.
Yeah, it can be difficult because with content creation, you can have the big picture idea clearly laid out, but once you zoom into the details, it gets a lot blurrier. And that's what I found personally.
Yeah, or other content creators already said it for you. And we just repeat after them. Alright, let's see. Quit. Alright, any last words, Mercer?
No, not really much else to say. Been a nice little stream.
Yeah, a shorter one today.
Yeah.
Good, maybe we assemble some guests next time. Who knows? Alright. Yeah, it's Mercer American signing out.
All right, see you guys later.